Venom Let There Be Carnage is out in theaters right now. Our review, our reaction, coming up.
What's up, everybody? We're the Jersey Comic Crew. As Chris just said, we are talking about Venom Let There Be Carnage. This is our review and reaction to the movie. So, obviously, we're going to talk about spoilers in this movie. If you haven't watched the movie already, please go ahead and do so. Or, if you don't care about spoilers, sit down, buckle in, and enjoy the wild ride. Very straightforward plot, nothing too crazy. I do got to say, Chris, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. Sure, I have creative differences with them. I don't like some of the creative decisions that they have been making, but with their creative decisions in play, I still enjoyed it. I think they did a good job for the direction that they're trying to go in. And it was worth the price of admission. It was a lot of fun, great visuals. I mean, just seeing Carnage just on the big screen like that with those battle axes, a sight that I didn't think I'd get in anytime soon.
Yeah, I thought the best part of the movies were obviously the fight scenes.
Yeah.
The visual aspect of it was absolutely cool. It was badass. Seeing Carnage on the big screen is never not a delight when it comes to the way he looks and kind of that unique set of different powers and tendrils and sights. And I thought the special effects and kind of the sizing stuff and the speed was really cool.
Yeah.
Past that, didn't really do much for me.
Okay.
To me, once you see this movie all the way through and the after credit scene, to me it seemed like the whole point of the movie was to get to the after credit scene and beyond.
Okay.
This movie never really had an identity. Characters always seemed out of place or not necessary. And they're the A plot line was kind of just as relevant or not relevant as the B and C and D plot line.
And it really didn't feel like there was much of a B or C. It felt very one note.
Exactly. And I don't, it's really hard for me to sit here and kind of, break it down all the way because I don't know if there was much point to this movie besides like Sony going, hey, we need this partially to keep our Spider-Man contract intact so we can make money off of the real Spider-Man movies.
I kind of felt... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off what you were saying.
No, it's fine. But not only just to make money off the Spider-Man movies, to keep that like flow of income and cash going for their production company, but to kind of continue this relationship with Marvel, who's like, hey, we have your characters. We know you want them back. We're not going to give them back to you. And we're going to make movies that are just going to continue to like make money because they're cool characters.
Yeah.
But the substance and the real work is going to come from your side. So here you go. That's what it felt like to me. There's a lot of mess in this movie. I still am not fully comfortable or aware of what take that Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is going for. Mm-hmm. It was a little better in this movie than the first movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like the overall sense of it, which I think a lot of people are falling into the trap of, is, hey, this movie has 40 different directions that are trying to come together, and it's very convoluted. So we're going to try to make this funnier to kind of distract you from it.
So
that's the problem I came across.
For me, like, I kind of view this movie like a kaiju movie. It's like, oh, it's a big battle between two monsters. The plot is there, but it's kind of secondary. Like, you just go along for the ride. It's a popcorn film. But when you in the world of the superhero genre, especially direct comparison to Marvel being a Marvel property, you want a little bit more substance than flair, right? This movie felt like a lot of flair. The whole joking side with Venom, again, it's like, it's flair. It's like, oh, easy to appeal to everybody. Not really true to his identity or like getting gritty or like with the plot and stuff like that, which you could definitely do with that character. I understand that. And even for me, some of the comedy aspects of Venom and the symbiote felt a little forced. I did want to comment on Tom Hardy's portrayal of Eddie Brock in this movie and the first one and in the future. In the first one, agreed, it was very, I don't want to say bad, but it was very like, he's like a stoner, not stoner, like he's a junkie, like there's two voices in his head. He's very manic. He doesn't know how to handle himself. In this second movie, it's a little bit better. And then towards the end, he's less manic. He's more together, right? And he's more on the same level playing field. And believe it or not, I was talking to my brother about this, and I was like, listen, I didn't really like that. And he's like, yeah, I get that, but it's for character progression. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Why are you teaching me something about movies, right? And I'm like, I get it, right? So, like, you saw where Eddie started out and Venom, and now towards the end of this movie and the next one, they're going to be on the same page, He's not really going to be as all over the place or as messy. The messy is like the word that comes to mind when I view them. He's gonna be more together, be more stoic, more like the comic book version of him. Like, oh, we're doing this, we got to do this, let's go. Instead of this guy who can't handle the two voices in his head. If that's the reason for it, which it may or may not be, I can understand that. Am I crazy or do I love it? Not necessarily, but I get for their universe, that's why they want to do it.
I don't know if it's even that far. Like, I think I'm usually the guy who looks like really far into things.
Yeah.
I think it's as basic as like, hey, Tom Hardy wanted to do this take, so that's what he did.
You think that's why? Okay.
I think that's why. There was an article about, like, in the first film, how the director had a different take on what Eddie would sound and talk like, and Tom had his own take, and that's what ended up happening because it's Tom Hardy. So not every decision is made with, the thought process of, will this overall be great, or like, it's just sometimes it's just like, hey, this is the take I feel for the character, I'm gonna do this. But again, I don't really. It's something I can't connect to. It's something that doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel
his portrayal or the movie.
Well, everything, but the portrayal, like I said, it got better in the second one, and I understand the character development of, like, hey, it's a symbiote. They're two, possessing the same body. They're trying to get into cohesion, but there's also good character progression and bad character progression. And I think some of the positives where he wasn't as manic as the first one.
Yeah,
definitely positive. But the second is, within that change, there wasn't really change. You know what I mean? Like within that, there wasn't much. And I think to get you away from that is focusing more on, like, Venom being more the talking in his head, more the funny, more the jokes, making every kind of situation that he has to come across, whether it's Anne or, the cop where he almost eats them.
Yeah.
Like, kind of an uncomfortable, funny situation. And that's where I'm kind of like, all right, like, we're kind of just moving this along to get to the end point.
So, I mean, a lot of the comedy did work for me. I liked it, but overall, I agree with a lot you're saying. But I want to talk a little bit. Let's focus a little bit about Carnage himself, right? Carnage and his relationship with Eddie Brock and his relationship with Shriek, which we, if you don't know, is a supervillain in Marvel Comics, right? What did you think of that portrayal? That whole, like, him falling in love, like, being focused on that in the first appearance of him versus just being a straight up murdering machine?
So I'm glad you asked that, because this is the part where I really wanted to talk to you about it. And the reason is this. Like, with Shriek, I honestly didn't need her in this movie at all. And it did nothing for the plot to me. It did nothing for the character. She was a throwaway. It wasn't like, how Domino is relevant in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
As kind of that side character with one weird power.
Okay.
The love story is whatever. Like, you have Carnage. Cletus Kasady is one of the darkest, most evil, like, uncomfortable characters in comic book history. The mass murdering sociopath who gets a power boost. Like, that's scary on every level. I wanted the beginning of this film with Cletus to be the main plot point. Eddie is the investigative reporter trying to find this trail of bodies, trying to find his, Zodiac-like killer stuff in this. Where is it? And that's the story. If that was the story, you got a movie on your hands.
And they didn't know that Cletus broke out, kind of deal.
And they didn't know he broke out. And Eddie is on the trail of these bodies. He's trying to find closure, and there's maybe a twist in there. And he's finding bodies everywhere, but it's not just where it is, and it's this whole detective story, and it's Venom helping Eddie and all that with the they figured it out in 3 minutes, and I was like, oh, you just wasted the best plot line of this movie. Immediately I knew it was gone. But that story, and you have Cletus in the background, like, not only killing people as Carnage, but continuing his work and leading Eddie down this path, and you have, like, this Zodiac killer / Seven feel in a comic book movie. That's the dark craziness I wanted, and they immediately took it off the table in the first 20 minutes. But as far as, like I said, loved the way Carnage looked, loved the way he fought, wanted more fighting. There wasn't really a lot. Besides the last scene and him breaking out, you have one scene where he breaks Shriek out, and they're in the car. And that's really it.
If you take Shriek out of this movie, right, and you keep the main plot that it is right now, which I understand the plot that you have and the story is a lot cooler. It's more grounded with comics. and it's like, oh, murder mystery, like kind of do that. I'm with you on that. I like it all. Yeah, it's not just comics. It's just a good story.
Like movie storytelling.
If you take Shriek out, and then you have that middle scene is like he goes to the home where he is, and Eddie's trying to investigate because he goes there and he's like, oh, I find the heart and stuff like that, right? Like, oh, cool, you're letting them know. Cool. He gets attacked, right? And you don't know that the guy gets attacked and kidnapped. Eddie's there exploring, trying to piece together all the connections. They could do the hint of Shriek for the next movie if they want to do a next movie, which we'll get to that later, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, that's the love of his life. Okay. But like right now he's just out revenge, just wants to hurt everything instead of trying to rebuild, right? And then at the home, which they eventually burn anyway, if Carnage comes in, they have a battle. He beats Venom, sets the place on fire. You still get all of that stuff.
Play through the fires and the flames.
Right? Venom eventually gets out. He gets a little stronger. Comic book logic here. Or Aunt saves him because she's like, oh, I checked his iPhone. He's here. Like, I see this crazy battle. We have to go get to him. And then they go there. They save him. And then leads into the next act that, like, Carnage captures her. All this kind of stuff. You could do that, and it kind of would be more streamlined, but more focused on Venom and Carnage fighting instead of Venom, Carnage, and their girlfriends are fighting, right? Which
so bad. And that's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up because at the end, I'm like, all right, at least we're gonna get this epic fight at the end.
Which you did.
Not really. I don't think it was that epic because here's the problem. Like we talk about comic book stuff and relevancy. Obviously, there's differences between the comic and movie. I'm not trying to make a movie exactly like a comic.
No, I know you're not.
Him burning down the orphanage, that's in the comic. That's stuff that you can relate to and
easy, yeah.
You could pull different things into. But one thing that doesn't make sense in any form and in any movie making, like there's no way Venom beats Carnage on his own. Like that's why he's Carnage, right? Like the reaction Venom, the best part of the Eddie Venom dynamic in this whole movie is the reaction Venom has to Carnage of going, oh, that's a red one. No,
yeah,
I'm not. And he like kind of has that Mark Ruffalo Hulk situation where he's like, did you see what Thanos just did to me?
Yeah,
There's no way I can beat this guy. Screw this.
That.
I'm not coming out. And that aspect, I was like, that's the real part of the movie they're ignoring. The fact that you can't beat him by yourself.
No.
Carnage isn't like, he's stronger, faster. He can do more things. Like, it's not possible. And then you add, like, you're telling me he's going to beat Carnage with just Venom and, like, Ann and Dan? And Dan?
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 I did like at the end. I like Dan now. It's okay.
I like Dan now. Which, that guy's great. He's from Veep. Great show. But,
I mean,
like, again, you're beating Carnage with, like, Anne, who's not, like, every time she goes into, like, the She-Venom suit thing, I'm like, yes, that's cool. I want more. And then it's like, yeah, now she's back to be, like, you can't have two movies in a row where the love interest is in the same predicament, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You,
Eddie,
that's a little but I'm in love with this guy, and I'm gonna
help you
now, and I'm gonna help you and be the damsel in distress twice. Like, you're in the same situation twice. I just don't get it, man. Like, I get you don't have Spider-Man to put in this fight, but like, you had Toxin at the end. You had Shriek kind of go, oh, something's not right. I like that Carnage was fighting against Cletus about that.
I did like that. I did like that a lot.
Yeah. And the realization of, like, oh, they're not compatible. They're not fully symbiotic, like, which I get is the out to make Venom win, but you can't beat him like that. Like, it's not possible.
And the whole way he won is because, like, Shriek, who was like going to kill the cop but somehow didn't because, like, she was dragging her feet, which I was like, all right, if you're gonna kill him, just kill him. And then she's like, oh, let me yell and, like, stop this, right? And then that's how they win. The whole building falls on them, and then, like, he eats Carnage, which we know that happens in the comics, and he's not really dead or gone.
Yeah. But also that happens too, right? Like, the Shriek situation gets punched in your face over and over again. If she does that again, I'm gonna eat her face. Don't yell. Don't scream. Don't do this. Like, that's all she can do.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that we know that is already telling us, all right, this is going to be an issue later,
yeah.
right? Like there's no, and it's beating us over the head in we see this in a ton of movies, right? This isn't just Venom, but that beating over the head of, don't do this. I don't like that. Stop it. it doesn't do anything for the audience to kind of just blow that into proportion. So that was I just wanted more fight scenes with either Carnage and Venom. Like, one of the best parts of the first Venom movie, which I think you'll agree with me, is the fight scene against the cops in the middle. That kind of the beginning of the second act of the film.
I agree.
You had this giant manhunt for Cletus Kasady with cops.
Why was he not killing cops?
There was one cop in the whole movie. So nothing made sense to me.
Well, there was cops like when he got her, right, and he killed them, but it's not really like
that
him
was
going out mass murdering.
They were more like scientists, right? Like it was like security. It was like Arkham security guards who like, hey, you're gonna get paid nothing and die. Like this is your life. So there was like, and there was that one car chase scene which was cool because he had them like tied up with the tendrils, and then Shriek kind of.
By the way, he has complete mastery of the tendrils, like, which is stuff that you don't see till later. And I was like, I was fine with it, but like, oh, you're a monster, you're crazy, man, and Venom just has to deal with it. But speaking on last thoughts, I think it's fun. I enjoyed it. I give it probably like a 6 out of 10. It was a lot of fun popcorn film. The future of Venom in the MCU, probably in his own universe if he comes back, maybe dealing with Toxin, and then Carnage comes back and they have to team up to fight Carnage come back. If they go crazy with Absolute Carnage and Null, I don't think they're going to get into all of that. This might be the last for Venom. This might not. We'll see. I mean, it's doing really well box office wise, so that determines usually the future of these movies.
I mean, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, guys. I really am not. But doing well right now in the box office is not saying much, right? Like we're still in a pandemic. There's still a lot of COVID things going on. There's still a lot of vaccine things going on. There's still a lot of movie theater situations going on. I'm glad it's doing well, and I'm glad if people enjoyed it. Rob, I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. I'm glad you got your money's worth. Absolutely. Like, everyone should, this is escapism art. But I think people sometimes to get, and this may be a little too deep, but sometimes to get out of the mundane or some of the struggles in life, like, you kind of tell yourself, I'm watching a bad movie, but I'm going to enjoy it because I have to. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And I think that becomes an issue too when it comes to kind of holding these studios to a standard of saying, no, you made a shit movie, like, do better. Or, hey, no, we're going to celebrate a movie that did fantastically and put the work in. And this brings me to my last question of the future of this franchise. We know from the after credit scene that the Marvel Universe is now open to the actual Marvel Universe and Tom Holland Spider-Man. I don't know how this character mixes with the MCU. I don't know how it blends naturally. I don't know how Kevin Feige's supposed to be like, thanks? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how Tom Hardy's take blends with these characters. I don't know. I don't know also how you go if it becomes a hit in a Marvel movie. We see him in No Way Home, right? If we see him in cameo in No Way Home, how do you go back to just a Sony film after that? And if it's a hit, right? Like, how do you do that? I just don't get it. I don't think Toxin's the next biggest thing. I think they spent their biggest character on this movie.
You make a lot of good points. I don't have the answers to that. I can see him playing with it, but I don't see how you could play and go back, even though, like, I stated that storyline in, I think, the other video we talk about the after credit scene. Like, they go there, then come back. But, like, the comeback, it's like, you got to step up. Like, you can't go to that and follow up with the worst movie.
So would it be Null?
Maybe. And I can see them going in, doing the stuff with there, and then he goes back to his universe, deals with the Toxin stuff, or maybe Null. And then because it's Null and he's multiversal, he calls in help from the MCU because he needs help, right? And because you could play with the multiverse, they could go in their universe, they could come back, they could do all this kind of stuff. It really just depends. The Madam Web. Maybe it's Morlin and not Null, and they save Null because Null is so grandiose, and you want to make sure he does it right.
We know they're doing a Morbius film too. Could that be?
It might be Morbius
antagonist for Venom, I guess.
I can see them going head to head with that.
I don't know if. I know people are clamoring for Venom because he's a badass character, and it was in the 90s.
True.
Todd McFarlane and all this, like headbanger stuff, which is awesome. But I just don't know how you transfer that to the MCU and then back out of it, or what the deal's going to be there, right? Like, is it Tom Holland going to be cameoing in Venom 3? Is it when he kind of was needed for this Carnage movie to kind of save it already? and you blow Carnage on like the second movie that kind of fell flat, I don't know if it fits, man. I don't know how this character fits because of how what we talked about, how Tom Hardy's portrayed it, how the progression has been, how the character development has been.
It could be just that this Venom goes there just to infect Peter Parker with the symbiote, and that's how they get Venom in their universe, and it goes to their Brock, and it's done their way instead of this way.
Maybe, but that's what I'm worried, right? Because this movie to me felt like it was a movie to get to the after credit scene, right?
Yeah, kinda.
It was a movie to get to the after credit scene. If you made this movie just the after credit scene that was like a 20-minute short, I would have been fine with that.
Oh,
that just belayed it into the MCU.
Maybe.
As far as going into the MCU, I'm also worried now that it becomes, we're gonna put him in the MCU so he gets those spider powers, so he could swing, so he gets the logo.
That's why he's.
So
that's probably why. That's probably
why.
Can
sell more Venom shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm worried about, because I don't necessarily think like it's technically compatible with just the takes. I don't know, man.
Well, guys, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What you thought of Venom Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to the original Venom movie. Did you like it? Did you love it? Was it fun to watch? Did you hate it? Let me know. And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, really helps the channel out a lot. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss anything as far as the channel. We're doing more Venom videos, more Spider-Man videos, and if you missed any, check them out on the channel below. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.